Okay. Good morning to all the dear students. In today's lecture, we are going to learn more about an essay, The Importance of English by Mulk Raj Anand, right? But what I think, because of lots of new participants are here, so before starting today's content, we have to give a quick revision what we already learned in the last lecture, right? Quick revision. Uh, Let me share my screen. Yes, I think you are able to see my screen. If you face some difficulties uh, in the identifying the word, you can zoom your screen. Okay, you can zoom your screen. Okay, so let's have a quick revision what we already learned in the last lecture. As you know, in the last lecture is the actually the first lecture. Before that, we discussed a lot about your syllabus, about your question paper pattern, and lots of things related to teaching and learning. But in the last lecture, we had started our first essay, An Importance of English by Mulk Raj Anand. And as I already told you, before starting any particular topic, though it is a poetry or it is a prose work, we have to understand the background of that particular writer, poet, or essayist, right? So it is our responsibility as a student of literature. So first of all, uh, I should tell you, or we discussed already, that Mulk Raj Anand and related information that he was born in 1905, died in 2004, and I already told you he is among the trio of Indian English literature. And what about the trio? Trio means three important figures in the literature or any sector, that is called trio. We have the three most important figure in Indian English literature. First of all, we have Mulk Raj Anand. Let's me quote it. Yes. First of all, we have this person, Mulk Raj Anand. Then we have Raja Rao. Then we have R.K. Narayan. And both of them, or all these three names, are important for the sake of Indian English literature. Uh, Last lecture, we also discussed the most important work of these three people. Whenever we discussed about Mulk Raj Anand, how can we forget his most important work, and that is Untouchability, right? Which published in where? 1935. Actually, you can take screenshots, right? Or you can also available these lectures on the another platform. Okay. Then we have Raja Rao, his most important novel, Kantapura, right? Achakka is the character, as I already told you about this novel, which published in 1938. Then we have R.K. Narayan, one of the most important significant writer in Indian English literature. His most important work is, or most of the people recognize him for his Malgudi days, right? We have one serial on the Doordarshan. I think uh, in the last decade we have this serial after 1990s. uh, it broadcast on the Doordarshan, that Malgudi days. And you know what, this fictional village called Malgudi, South Indian village, he invented in the guide, that is most important novel by him. So let's move to the next slide. Whenever we discussed about Mulk Raj Anand and about his works, we have to understand he is noted for his realistic and sympathetic portrait for the poor India, for the writings of poor India. Then also we know he got Sahitya Akademi Award, right? In when? In 1971. For what? For his autobiographical work, and that is Morning Face, right? These are the important things related to what we called his academic career, or his what we called important works. Then some of his significant works we already discussed. First of all, Coolie, which published after our untouchability or untouchable, that is 1935, and Cooley published in 1936, right? Please unmute yourself. Sorry, mute yourself, please. Yes. Then Two Leaves and a Bird, that is also important work. Then Sword and the Pickle, that is also important work by him. These are the things which is or which was related to Mulk Raj Anand, right? Then in the last lecture, we discussed about what already or what actually include in this essay, right? That is also the part related to our content. As we know, his basic concern, his focus is on what his focus about why we always create a different types of taboos related to why we always created different types of taboos to accepting the other languages, basically the English, right? So that's also the important part related to the content. Then we generally discussed about what about the basic concept of importance of English. For that sake, I already told you the example of or the most important line by Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, and that is English is the window of modern world. In the last lecture, we thoroughly discussed about these things. Then we discussed the general concepts of the importance of English in generally, and that we have different points, that English as a global language, it is the language of communication. Most of the people in the world used English as a communication language. So it's our responsibility to understand or to get the concept of English. Then it's a language of knowledge, right? We thoroughly discussed all these points in the last lecture, so no need to waste another time, right? So exactly the importance of English, this essay, we already start in the last lecture. I think we are discussing about the first paragraph. So why not we again read that paragraph, then you can easily connect with the last lecture, okay? Listen carefully. There are grime signals of an emergence of language chauvinism in our country. Those who wish to see the young in New India grow up to an awareness in a world where more knowledge of the science and the arts has been built up in our country than in previous historical eras must notice these suicidal tendencies. I think we already discussed for this paragraph, but no problem. What actually Mulk Raj Anand used to say, one thing you should clear, this essay doesn't belong to present era, okay? It is all about the before independence time, where we have lots of taboos about this language. And why? The basic concern is lots of taboos because of people thought, or lots of literate people also, they thought this is the language of colonizers, this is the language of rulers, this is the language of Britishers. And obviously because of that, people making a particular type of taboo related to this language, and they are not able or they are not at all ready to accept the English as a language of communication, English as a language of gaining or getting the knowledge, right? So that's the concept. And why he used the term suicidal tendencies, because he thought most of the time, just taking the example of history in 17th 18th century, when there was in Europe there was a revolution, especially the American Revolution, French Revolution, Industrial Revolution, such types of things trying to take place in the Europe continent or in the other countries, but we are not aware with these things. Why? Because we are not ready to accept this language as a language of knowledge, right? And therefore, till today means when he wrote that essay before independence, right? Till today, we are not ready to accept this language, and it is one type of suicidal tendencies. According to him, it is one type of what? Suicidal tendencies, right? So that's the concept. So let's start with new paragraph, and that is our concern for today's lecture. The fact that much of the knowledge which is in the language of Europe has not yet percolated into Asia and Africa because of imperial subjection for over 500 years has to the acknowledged as part of the history of our subjugation. These lines are very much important, right? We have to focus such types of line in the essay. What he wants to tell you, Mulkraj Anand, he thought the fact, what is the fact? The fact that much of the knowledge which is in the language of Europe, and this line is important, and we cannot deny, okay? We cannot deny such type of truth, we can say. Till today, we have to accept much of the knowledge in the world is available in the language of Europe. And which is the language of Europe? Now, I am not talking only about English. The language of Europe means the language of French, German, English, and etc. In such type of languages, the multiple language or the multiple knowledge of the world, much of the knowledge of the world available in such languages. Then why we create so much taboo with such languages? And then only we are not able to get the knowledge, the thorough knowledge, what we call the original source of knowledge, right? Because as we know the history of the world, you know what? Understanding the literature, understanding the English literature or whatever, Marathi literature, any other literature, history we have to understand. History is the very close, what we call sub branch of literature, right? And as a student of literature, it is your duty to understand the basic concern of literature. Most of the social sciences and their emergence from which subject? Philosophy. Philosophy is the mother branch of all the social sciences, right? Therefore, we have to connect in between the subjects. Otherwise, we cannot get the exact concept for such type of subjects or any social sciences, right? Because just take the common things in various subjects, right? In English literature, we have the philosophy of Plato, Aristotle, Socrates, Horace. In political science, we have such type, or we have same people there, and there are different philosophies. Karl Marx is there, Friedrich Engels is there, in economy also, right? In environmental science, in different types of science subjects, right? So that is the common thing related to all the subjects. And why this is important? Because all the subjects emerged by one subject, and that is the philosophy. And basically, whenever we talk about philosophy, it is closely associated with the Greek philosophy, because that is the old one, okay? The Greek philosophy, right? What he used to say, these European languages carry multiple or much of the knowledge in the world. And yes, we have to proud about our mother tongue, about our national languages, about Hindi, about Marathi, about Telugu, Malayalam. But what about the source of knowledge? And that is English. At least you have to translate it in your subject. And for the sake of translation, you have to understand this language, and that is English, okay? That is the concern of Mulkraj Anand. Language of Europe has not yet percolated into Asia and Africa because of imperial subjection. Here he compare our Asian continent or our Asian situation, right, with the another continent, and that is Africa. You know what? There is so much similarity in between the African culture and Asiatic culture. How? Till today in Africa, or as we know the history of the world, Britishers are always in the role of what we call colonizers, and therefore we always read one sentence again and again that they are colonizers, Britishers are colonizers, and they colonize 1/3 part of the world. You know what? 1/3 part of the world, right? And in that 1/3 part, Africa is also the part of that particular era. Asia is also the part of that particular colonizing process, right? Therefore, we are in many ways similar to each other. In Africa, till today, they are very much conscious about their culture. They are very much what we call in the mode of preserve their languages, their dialects, boli bhasha, right? They are very much curious about their languages, about their culture, about their tendencies, right? And it is one type of good thing, right? It is one type of good thing because that time it is the need of time. We have to accept the need of time, and we have to take care for our culture, for our what we call clothing, for our languages, because this is what we call culture. This is the umbrella term culture, and in that term we have different things like language, like clothing, like our festivals, religions, right? And most of the time that the Christian missionaries that time try to impose their philosophy on the people. So that is the concern, that is the problem, right? And in many ways the African culture and the Asiatic culture is closely associated with each other. Okay, we will discuss later in detail about the similar thing in the African culture and the Indian culture. So let's see. Asia and Africa, because of imperial subjection of, and this word is important, imperial subjection. Uh, just look on your screen. You can zoom it. Here one word is there, imperial. Imperial means what? Belonging to an empire. Empire, king, queens, right? That type of uh, ruling methods, right? So belonging to a particular empire, that is called imperial, right? And what about subjugation? This word is, I think, new for you. Subjugation. Subjugation means what? Bringing under the domination, bringing under a particular domination, the domination of language, the domination of a particular religion, the domination of particular culture, right? And that's the issue before the independence. That's the issue faced especially the Asiatic country and the African countries, right? That's a common thing we can say. Asia and Africa, because of imperial subjugation for over 500 years, not a small time span, 500 years, has to be acknowledged as part of the history of our subjugation. And it is the part of our history. We cannot separate our history from this period, the British colonial period, right? You know what? I can easily suggest you one book, and which book recently published, I think in the last year or in the last few months. Shashi Tharoor. He is also politician, but he is one of the significant literary figure in Indian English literature. And for this book, he got the Sahitya Akademi Award of this year. And the name of that book is, I think you should note the name of that book, An Era of Darkness. An Era of Darkness. And this book deals with the British colonial darkness, the British colonial era, how Britishers colonized our culture, how Britishers colonized our what we call land in many ways, our languages. So this book is important. right? You have to read such types of book as a student of literature, right? So after, this is the history of 500 years. Just remind the history, that establishment of East India Company, right? In the 16th and 17th century, the establishment of East India Company. Just remind the history of Ram Mohan Roy, this type of social reformer, Mahatma Jyotiba Phule. These are the social reformer. They always try to prevent our culture. They always in the favor of what we call our basic uh, traditions, our basic culture, right? Our languages. Then to be acknowledged as a part of history of our subjugation. So the point is, we cannot separate our history from these types of culture. We cannot separate it, okay, in many ways. Then let's deal with the next line. But to throw out the baby with the bath water would be disastrous. You know what? Such types of little bit humorous example used by Mulkraj Anand. This is called the aestheticism. Aestheticism means what? In Marathi, for your better understanding, aestheticism means bhashik saundarya. Bhashik saundarya, right? That is called aestheticism. Using different types of figures of speech, using different tools of languages, that is called aestheticism. And just listen this line, how interesting it is. But to throw out the baby with bath water would be disastrous. Just take the example. Suppose there is a small child, a baby in our home, and we regularly we have to bath that baby. After their bath, we just thrown back that water, that wastage water. But he thought, or he used to say, we are not always thrown water with that baby, right? That's the concept. Means it's really symbolic. He used different types of figure speech, and it is really symbolic in many ways. According to him, we don't have to thrown back English and at the same time our regional languages. We have to maintain the balance. We have to maintain the balance. We have to preserve our culture. At the same time, we have to get mastery on such types of languages because of enriching ourselves, because of enriching our progress, we can say, right? Let's see. The exclusion of the English language from our education system would deprive the 10 to 25 age group of the people or group of the basic knowledge of science and technology. This point is also important, right? Just imagine this person, Mulkraj Anand, used to write these things before independence. That is more important, because that time no one is there to speak in the favor of such types of languages, and he used to write a complete essay on this concept. So it's really what we call praiseworthy thing, right? What he used to say, exclusion, this new word is there, exclusion. What actually mean by exclusion? Exclusion means, let's turn the page. Exclusion means reject or to deny. Reject a particular thing or deny a particular thing. I reject or I exclude a particular thing means I reject a particular things, right? You know what? Just look on your screen. What is the first two words on your screen? New words, new, right? New words. You know what? In our schooling days, I remember one incident when I was the student of, I think, 5th or 6th class. That time, this is not the title in our book. Here they used difficult words, right? And after 4 or 5 years, they erase that words. There is not there is not the concept of difficult, na? How can we use the difficult word? Difficult word means what? Means these words are really difficult and we cannot understand. It is not the concept. It's a new words, right? That is okay, new words, because it is new for us, and that is new words, not the difficult word, right? So that's the incident what I memorized related to these new words. Let's come on the topic. Exclusion. Exclusion means rejected. The exclusion of the English language from our education system would deprive. Obviously, just deny English as a language in our education policy, it is one type of crime, as I already discussed in the last lecture. How? Because it is one type of crime, because we deprived our generation, the whole generation, from a particular language, and not a common language, a language which is called the language of knowledge. So it is really dangerous thing to depriving the whole generation in many ways, right? Then the next line, basic knowledge of science and technology, which is so far available only in English language books. And why we always depriving our young generation? Why we cannot deprive our young generation? Because as we already discussed, the basic knowledge, the original knowledge of various inventions about the science and technology available only in the English. You know what? Nowadays, the countries like Russia, country like China, and so more, such types of countries, they try to translate the whole concepts from English to their own languages, and that is good initiative. We cannot against, or we cannot say it is not the good initiative, because of translation, the common masses means common people, can easily available, can easily get such types of knowledge, right? That's the concept. Then which is so far available only in English language books and did not come to us to the extent necessary thought, or extent necessary through our schools and colleges in the syllabi of the imperial period. At that time, the syllabus of schools and colleges and university level, obviously, less universities are there before independence, but yes, universities are there, right? Because we have the rich heritage of Nalanda, Takshashila, right? Such types of universities. So we are really, or we were really rich for the sake of education. We have Guru Shishya Parampara, right? Gurukul Parampara, we can say. That is the gift of India to the whole world. We have yoga, we have different types of uh, inventions, and that is the gift of India to the world, right? Next paragraph. It was the recognition of the importance of European languages more than a century ago by thinkers like Ram Mohan Roy, who was a master of Sanskrit, Persian, and the Arabic languages, as well as English. What you think? Is this thing important or not? I think it is really important. How? Because Ram Mohan Roy was a social reformer who, or his work take place in the 17th century. His work take place in the 17th century, right? And in the 17th century, he was the one who take mastery on such types of multiple languages. And which type of languages? Sanskrit, that is our own Indian soil language, we can say. It is our own language, right? Then Persian, right? Then Arabic. The language of Arabic is the language of what we called countries, different types of countries, right? Especially the Arabian countries, right? Then as well as the language of English, means that time, just imagine that crucial time or that difficult time in 17th century. In 17th century, person like Ram Mohan Roy, a social reformer, one of the education in the field of education, educational reformer, we can say, right? He's also social and educational reformer, and that time he got mastery, or he had a mastery on these four languages. And what about the variety of languages? One language belongs to your soil, one language belongs to European country. At the same time, one language belongs to, especially that time, Muslim countries. Just imagine how mature person he was, Ram Mohan Roy, right? This is the importance, or this is the one type of example presented by Mulkraj Anand. As well as English, that reinforced the adoption of English as a medium of education in our university system. And because of he knows the importance of English, or he already known the importance of English, he supposed to force, he's supposed to force that we should teach English as a language in our universities. Before that, we didn't have English as a language in the universities, but because of Ram Mohan Roy, we have this language in our universities. Then let's discuss with the next example and next line. In the debate between Orientalist and yes, a debate between Orientalists and those who were for the adoption of English as the medium of imparting knowledge of science or sciences while retaining mother tongue for studies of humanities. The latter won approval on pragmatic ground. This paragraph, I think, more important. Let's discuss about this line. He thought in debate, okay, in debate between Orientalists and those who were for the adoption of English. Now here one new or one, two, three new words are there. First of all, reinforce. It may be some participants know the meaning of this word, reinforce. Reinforce means what? Supportive or making more strong. That is called reinforce. Making someone or something more energy, more strong. That is called reinforce a particular thing. Getting more power or giving more power, that is called reinforce. Okay. Then it is the debate between the Orientalist and the other people. Now this term is important, Orientalist. You know what? We have one book, Orientalism. Orientalism, that is the name of that book. That book by Edward Said. Edward Said. He is the postmodern philosopher, Edward Said, and he wrote one book, Orientalism. Most important book for the sake of critical theory, for the sake of criticism. Okay, what actually mean by Orientalist, or who is Orientalist? Let's have the meaning of this word. A person who studies uh, the languages and culture of the countries in the East and Southeast Asia. Orientalist means a person who studies about the language and culture, and about which country or of which country, particularly countries in the East and Southeast of Asia. Okay, the countries of East and Southeast of Asia, such types of countries, different countries, and study of their languages, studies of their culture, that is called Orientalism, or the person who takes such types of initiative called Orientalist. Okay. Then what is the debate? He thought in the debate between Orientalists and those who were for the adoption of English as the medium for imparting knowledge of sciences, means Orientalist, these people are not very much supportive for accepting the language like English. But at the same time, we have another people, and that people are strongly accepted or strongly supportive in the favor of languages like English, French, and German. And that is the debate in between such people, Orientalist and the what we call modern people, or what we call the people who accept the languages, while retaining mother tongue. Retaining means what? Retaining means conserving or saving. That is the exact meaning of the word retaining. While retaining mother tongue for studies of humanities, the latter won approval on pragmatic ground. Pragmatic ground, this new word is there, and before that we have humanities. It is one type. In Marathi we used to say Manav Vidya Shakha, that is called humanities, which include all the social sciences and languages also. Okay. In our university, Dr. Baba Sahib Ambedkar Marathwada University, we have uh, humanity building. Humanities building. Humanities building means what? In that building, we have the Department of Social Sciences and Languages, that is called humanity. Okay. Or humanities, while retaining mother tongue for studies of humanities means when you try to learn humanities, the social sciences and languages, and basically it is belongs to your mother tongue. Mother tongue, maybe for Maharashtra it is Marathi, for Kerala it is Malayalam, for Tamil Nadu it is Tamil, right? That's called mother tongue. Retaining the mother tongue for studies of humanities, the latter won approval on pragmatic ground. We cannot retain, we cannot retain mother tongue for such types of languages in many ways, right? And then the meaning of pragmatic ground. Pragmatic ground means what? Pragmatic means dealing with the thing in a way that is based on practical rather than theoretical consideration. I think it is the simplest meaning of the word pragmatic. Pragmatic means what? Dealing with things. Which things? In a way, or the particular thing in a way that is based on practical basis. You know what? There is always the difference between practical and theoretical. Theoretical basis means based on your past, based on various theories, various conceptions, right? But practical basis means based on practical, based on present situation. So pragmatic means dealing the thing in a practical base rather than theoretical consideration. Okay. Then the next paragraph, and as the all India intelligentsia. Intelligentsia means what? Intelligentsia. Intelligentsia means the educated class in the society, that is called intelligentsia, right? Especially there is a difference between literary person and intelligent person. You can easily get. I don't need to explain such types of thing, right? And as an all India intelligentsia arose, its leaders demanded political freedom. That is the need, or that is the demand from before the independence, that in all India intelligentsia arouse the intelligent people, its leaders and their leaders demanded political freedom. They demanded always the political freedom. Political freedom means they are aware about their basic rights, their human rights, or their what we call duties. They are always aware with these things related to constitution, right? Political freedom, and used English to communicate to the ruler. Our national urge, while revitalization or revitalizing the mass awareness of the mother tongues, the aligned tongue thus became an asset. For this paragraph, I want to present an example for you. What he used to say, just imagine the state like Tamil Nadu. In last week, we have the new education policy. And in the new education policy, we have very most important things. First of all, our primary education should be in our mother tongue. Then we have the three language formula. Three language formula means what? First language should be our mother tongue. The second language should be our national language. Actually, there is not the concept of national language, but especially Hindi. Okay, and the third one is obviously the English. But state like Tamil Nadu always opposes this concept called the three language formula. According to them, uh, we need only two languages, and that is the first one is our mother tongue. They love their mother tongue more than any country or more than any state. Sorry, and the second language is English. They are not in the favor of Hindi, accepting Hindi as a language, because they thought, why you always impose Hindi on us, on our culture? That's the issue of debate and discussion. We cannot exactly say it is good or bad, but this is the situation. This is the example I want to put here. Okay. English to communicate to the ruler our national urge while revitalizing the mass awareness of the mother tongues. The aligned tongue thus became an asset. Align means what? Align means overseas or foreign, we can say align. The aligned tongue thus became an asset. But still today, or till today in our country, part like Kerala, Pondicherry, Lakshadweep, Delhi, we have aligned tongue. Which aligned tongue? Basically, we are talking about English. Till though English as an aligned tongue, foreign tongue, not a mother tongue, but till today, it is the asset of that people. Asset means their powerhouse, their strength, right? Their plus points, we can say. English is still today their asset, he used to say. Let's move to the next paragraph. The likes of Jawaharlal Nehru, Subhash Chandra Bose, M.N. Roy, and Dr. Ambedkar were aware of the advanced political thought. These are the names of social reformers. These are the names of what we call our political leaders, great political leaders. We cannot say just political leaders. It creates misconceptions. Great political leaders, obviously. Their contribution, we have their contribution in our freedom movement, right? In many ways, they contributed to the country a lot, right? What he used to say, according to him, Jawaharlal Nehru, Subhash Chandra Bose, M.N. Roy. M.N. Roy means Manavendra Nath Roy. Okay, the social and educational reformer. Manavendra Nath Roy and Dr. Ambedkar were aware of the advanced political thought. This thing is important. Advanced political thought. They are not only, or they were not only what we call aware with the political thought. Yes, obviously political thought should be there, but which political thought? Advanced political thought. Advanced political thought means what? Though they belong to India, but at the same time, they are very much interested in the world politics, in the world economy. That is called the world, or that is called the advanced political thought. Getting my point? Advanced political thought. They take interest what happened in Europe, right? That is called the advanced political thought. Dr. Ambedkar were of the advanced political thought of the European Renaissance. Renaissance means what? Some people call it, or some people pronounce it, Renaissance. Renaissance means what? It is one type of new emergence. New emergence. We always used to say after independence, we have the Indian Renaissance, means new emergence of India. That is called Renaissance. A new growth, the meaning of this word Renaissance is a new growth of activity or interest in something, specially in arts, literature, and music. Okay, that is this term is specially related to three things. The first one is art, then literature, and then music. It is closely associated with these three things. New emergence, new activity which took place in these three fields: art, literature, and music. According to him, these four people, Jawaharlal Nehru, Subhash Chandra Bose, M.N. Roy, and Dr. Ambedkar, they are very much interested in the world history, in the world polity, in the world economy. At the same time, what changes take place, or what changes already took place in the world platform, for the sake of arts, literature, and music. Let's move. They knew yes, they knew through Thomas Paine's Right of Man, which had entered the Bill of Rights of the US after America's overthrow of British monarchical hold through the war against George III. Here we have historical references. Okay, we have so many historical references. I think we already cross our time limit, right? And you have another lectures too. So we have to stop here. In tomorrow's lecture, we again in detail discussion. We will have in detail discussion on this historical movements, on this historical references. What about constitution? What about monarchy? What about Thomas Paine's Rights of Man? How it closely associated with French Revolution, American Revolution. Okay. So I think we have to stop here because it is already late. We already crossed the time limit and you have your next lectures. So if you have any question, you can ask. Hello? Any question? If you have any question, please unmute yourself and then ask one by one. Abhishek Vaidya, no question, sir. Okay. When you used to tell no question, then I feel really happy. How